Brian Han.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Han. I'm from Korea International Trade Association. It is my great pleasure meeting all of you today and having opportunity to introduce myself and our organizations. Today, my challenge is to finish my presentation within 10 minutes. So I'll do my best to make this as brief as I can. Okay, I'm going to talk about the Korea International Trade Association, who we are and what we do, and then I'm going to move on to the tradekorea.com. Okay, KIRA is a nonprofit organization. We were founded in 1946 as a small association. But for the last 60 years, we become one of the largest and the most influential economic entities in Korea, with a 70,000 member company comprised of large and small and medium sizes. Our main goal is supporting member companies to expand their business on a global scale and fostering partnership between domestic and overseas enterprises. We have about 350 employees in Korea and overseas. All right, this is a picture of our headquarters in Seoul, Korea. No one seems impressed. Okay, the tall building in the middle is our main building, Trade Towers, and around Trade Tower there are some affiliates and subsidiary companies, such as Convention Center and Exhibition Hall, where we hold many international and domestic trade fairs and shows, as well as global summit, such as G20 and Nuclear Summit. We have a few upscale hotels for travelers. For the attractions, we have a movie theater, aquarium, and even casino for foreign travelers. So if you get a chance to visit Korea, please try to visit our trade complex in Seoul. Okay, KIRA works as a bridge for our member company by finding potential buyers, sellers, and investors. We arrange a variety of meetings with the strategic partners, and we are marketing our member companies through our e-marketplace, which I'm going to explain a bit later. We also host exhibitions and conventions throughout the years, and we organize trade delegations. And we're also trying to improve the trade environment by representing Korea's trade community and then representing the interest of our members to Korean government. We promote free trade agreement and do cooperation with many strategic organizations, such as U.S. Chamber, Department of Commerce, SBA, and so on. Okay, KIRA has own research institutions to research on trade policies, regulation, and other strategies that could be helpful for our member companies. And we also do a variety of market research for our member companies, as well as training trade experts and personnel. KIRA has been a member of WTC since 1988, so we do cooperate with the WTC on many different bases. Okay, again, our headquarters in Seoul. We have 9 overseas branches. There are 2 in United States, 1 in New York, and 1 in Washington, D.C., where I'm from. We have 12 domestic centers throughout Korea. We have 3 subsidiary companies. COEX is the company which manages the shopping mall and the exhibition hall and convention center. KTNet is IT company, and CALC is a company providing transportation to the airport. Okay, so now I can move on to tradekorea.com. This is the e-marketplace, 100% run and operated by KIRA.
Trade Korea.
Thank you. Okay, tradekorea.com was launched in April 2008. This platform was basically designed to provide the basic tools for our member companies for online marketing, such as posting e-catalogs, send inquiries and receive inquiries, and also promoting Korean suppliers for foreign buyers. July 2009, our website was updated, and as a global e-marketplace, this offers free services to international customers, not only for Korean companies, and to provide user-friendly web services. Okay, we have 80,000 companies are registered, and then 280,000 products are registered in our database. According to 2013 database, we had 6 million users visited our website. That is 25,000 users per day. 90% are overseas visitors, countries from US, China, India, Thailand, UK, and so on. We have about 175,000 subscribers signed in as a member who's actively working, utilizing our website. Okay, this is what the TradeKorea.com makes unique. First, I want to emphasize this is a free service. There's no charge, and then the registration is very simple. It takes about 10 to 15 minutes. And then data, we have reliable data and trade information. Most of the company who has been registered is our member company, which means they are pre-qualified by KITA members. And we closely monitor this company to provide most updated information. So our data is very reliable. And we do trust, we do provide the one-on-one business matching services. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later, but this is good for the foreign buyers who's looking for Korean suppliers. All right, this is the actual screenshot of TradeKorea.com. It's www.tradekorea.com. And I'm just going to walk through very quickly how to join a member. You can just simply click on the join free, and you'll see this screen. On the top, it's asking whether you want to register as a seller or buyer, but I strongly recommend to click on the both because the features it will provide is different, depends on whether you be a buyer or sellers. So you just go through this, put your basic information, your email address, and your names and so on. And then it'll take you to your company information where you have to put your company information, such of address, locations, and names of your business. All right, this is where you have to put your product types, and this is one of the important steps because you have to select from this drop-down box, where you fit in and as a sector. And please don't be disappointed even though you can't find the things that matches 100% to your product, because you can always put the words, keywords in description section. So when buyers or sellers are looking for you, they will search by your keywords. Okay, more information you have to put for your companies. Okay, so this is everything that you need to do to register as a member, and you'll see this sign. Just want to make sure, don't log in from this page. You have to go to your email and do your email verification, and it'll automatically take you to the web pages. Okay, very quickly, I want to go over some of the features for buyer and seller. I wish I can do everything, but I don't have much time, so I want to pinpoint two things. Okay, for buyers, global business matching services. This is a one-on-one matching services for US buyers or any foreign buyers looking for reliable Korean suppliers. So you are looking for reliable exporters, go to TradeKorea.com and submit and fill out your application, and then send it to our staff. It'll automatically be sent to the experts in our HQ. So we'll respond within 24 hours, informing you that we're taking actions. And then after that, we're gonna work on it, and once we find something that matches 100% to your request, we'll get back to you. And then open your request We can even arrange the meeting for you. So I think this is a very great tools for US buyers who's looking for reliable Korean suppliers. Okay, the second is create your own website. Okay, you can revise your company informations, and even you can upload your company logos in order to create the website. Once you put all the company information, you can do the modification. Click on the mini site on the top, and then it'll ask you how do you want to make your domain name. So you can type whatever you like to do. It's going to be, for example, I put abdce.tradekorea.com. That's going to be the address for your website. Okay, so this is how your website is going to look like. Very simple, but has all the informations. You can upload your products, and then you can put your company information, and you can even use your notice board. Okay, I think this is really great for some of you who does not want to spend too much money to design and create your web pages. And also, this is good because you can give to the people that you like to show your products. You don't even have to go through the tradekorea.com. Just type your address on the web browser. It'll automatically take you to your web pages. Okay, as I'm finishing my presentation, I also like to introduce one of the very important resources called uskoreaconnect.org. This website is built and managed by Korean Embassy, and it contains lots of trade statistic information between state and Korea. And then, for example, the top 10 importing items and exporting items, and more than 100 of success stories of a U.S. firm doing business with Korea. I think Minister Kim from Korean Embassy will explain more about this. Okay, thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Next presentation is on the U.S. Export Services at Atlanta Export Assistance Center, and the presenter is Amy Ryan. Amy?
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Ryan, and I'm here to represent a division of the U.S. Department of Commerce called the U.S. Commercial Service. We are a group that has been around since about 1980, and we exist to help small and medium-sized companies export. We don't help with imports, and we also don't help people move their manufacturing overseas. We get a lot of questions about that. So we are definitely strictly helping with exports. We have about 100 offices here in the U.S. and about the same number overseas. We do have an office in Seoul at the embassy there. For those of you that might not be in Georgia, we do have offices in Birmingham, Columbia, South Carolina, if you're maybe from there. We've got 3 offices in Tennessee. I'm from the Atlanta office, and we also have an office in Savannah, if any of you are from southern Georgia. Again, basically, we help companies export. I would say the major thing that we do is help companies find partners overseas. Most small and medium-sized companies don't know how to find a Korean partner to save their lives. This is obviously very challenging, and so we are here to help. And actually, I also want to mention that our colleagues at the state of Georgia have a great office in Korea as well. So we've got 2 teams here in Atlanta that are helping companies expand into Korea. For those of us here on the domestic side, kind of on a daily basis, we are helping companies figure out how to fill out export documentation, how to qualify buyers, even how to work on contracts with foreign buyers, how to set those up. We also have 2 agencies in our suite downtown or in Midtown, the U.S. Export-Import Bank and the Small Business Administration that help with various ways of export financing, export credit insurance and things like that. So we're all in one office downtown, or in Midtown, sorry, and the state of Georgia folks are on the 12th floor. We're on the 10th floor of the same building, so we're all kind of kind of a one-stop shop, I would say. In terms of the Korea FTA, I will tell you that when companies come to us for assistance with exporting, I am always encouraging our companies to try to start with the free trade agreements that we have established. And I'm sure that my colleague from the USTR will say that we are big fans of free trade agreements. And I try to support those up front all the time because it makes it so much easier for our companies to do business in those countries, and we're very supportive of that. I wanted to keep this really brief. This is just kind of an introduction to commercial service. We've got materials out on the back that Andy and his team were nice enough to let me put out there, so you can get more details about the different services we provide, and I'm happy to answer questions after the panel discussions are over. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian and Amy, for the great source of how to find the suppliers and the services available here in the United States and Korea. And those informations that spoke about, the flyers is back there. Is you can pick them up if you want any more, or if you forgot, no problem at all. You just come to our website, www.koreaseuschamber.org. All the information will be there. And also, next, the panelists will talk a whole lot about the trade informations. All those informations will be available starting next week on our website. You can download all those informations that you need. And so don't be panicked that if you missed it or misunderstood, and information will be available at our website. Thank you.
Well, it's almost as if we don't need to speak anymore. Now, finally, I have the honor of introducing our distinguished speakers to you today. I will start with the speakers that have traveled the farthest from Washington, D.C., and one from Korea, although he is currently stationed in Washington, D.C. Mr. Gheewhan Kim is the Minister of Economic Affairs at the Korean Embassy in Washington, D.C., and he's been in that post for the past 3 years, and he has one more to go. He's happy about that. Prior to the current appointment, Mr. Kim was the Director General for Multinational Trade in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade, MOFAT, in Korea. He has served in the Korean Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the past 31 years. Thank you and welcome. Mr. Bryant is the Deputy Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for Non-Tariff Market Access. Prior to the current position, Bryant was the Deputy Assistant U.S. Trade Representative for Korea, and he is fluent in the language of German. He also spent 11 years as a Foreign Service Officer in the U.S. Department of State. Ms. Hollie Pegg is from the state of Alabama. She is the Assistant Director of Commercial Business Development at the Alabama Department of Commerce. She has 15 years of public service experience. In fact, Hollie and I have worked on many Korean investment projects in Alabama, and I am sure I am not one of her favorite people since I kept asking for more and more incentives. I apologize, Hollie, it's just my job.
It's okay.
And Mr. Scott McMurray he represents the state of Georgia today, and he is a Director for Global Commerce at the Georgia Department of Economic Development. Scott's project managers and I have also worked on several Korean projects, and I know them very well. It is also interesting to know that you were a teacher, English teacher, for 5 years.
Yes.
I was a teacher for 9 years, and I know it's not an easy job. I hope you like your job now.
I do,
better.
very
Yes?
much.
Well, thank you all for sharing your time and expertise with us today. The format today will be divided into 3 topics that are listed on your programs. So each topic will have 20 minutes for you all to speak on. So each of you will have 5 minutes to speak before the Q&A. And I beg your pardon in advance if I have to interrupt you, because I have the unenviable duty of keeping you on time. So first topic. Korea-U.S. trade advantages. If you would speak as the topic relates to your area. Bryant, would you like to start?
Sure. Thank you very much for inviting me here and for hosting me here. Very much appreciate it. Could I have the PowerPoint presentation, please? So I thought for this, the most valuable thing I could do for this topic was just provide a general overview of the U.S.-Korea Free Trade Agreement, of what it contains and what type of general advantages it has, what type of benefits it provides in a general sense. So, you know, the principles of the U.S.-Korea FTA, or the Chorus FTA as we like to call it, why we decided to do this together with our partner Korea. First of all, from the American perspective, we wanted to level the playing field. We wanted to open Korea's market to U.S. Exporters and investors. It was important for us as the United States to also strengthen the economic pillar of our very important bilateral alliance with Korea. And of course, the Free Trade Agreement is also a pathway to promote economic reform in Korea. At the time we negotiated the FTA was a time period when Korea itself was undertaking a number of very important economic reforms. The agreement supported those, and it provides a basis for even closer collaboration in the future. So, and in terms of opening the Korean market to U.S. exporters and investors, you see here the basic statistics. Essentially, at the time we negotiated the FTA, Korea, of course, had already opened up its market significantly, but nevertheless, in many ways, it was more closed than the U.S. market was. So we viewed this as an opportunity to bring down Korean tariff levels, to open new services areas, to have greater investment protections, intellectual property protections, and things like that. So you'll notice that before the FTA went into effect, Korea was for many years, our 7th largest trading partner. Now it has actually become our 6th largest trading partner. Next slide, please. So the FTA is roughly divided into tariff measures, agreements between Korea and the United States to eliminate our tariffs on each other's products. Then there is a large section dealing with services and investment, and a number of chapters dealing with all kinds of trade rules, intellectual property rights, how to treat what are called technical barriers to trade. In other words, regulations, product labeling regulations and things like that, or food safety regulations. So the agreement itself covers virtually every economic sector involved in trading between the two countries that you can think of. So, what we're seeing right now, we of course definitely want to paint this as a success, and it has been a significant success. The agreement went into effect March 15th, 2012, so it's been in effect a little over 2 years. We've already had 3 rounds of tariff reductions and eliminations, so tariffs have already been eliminated completely on about 94% of the industrial goods traded between the two countries. The remaining tariffs will be phased out over the next coming years. So eventually, it will be tariff-free, duty-free trade between the U.S. and Korea. And we've seen, particularly since the latter part of last year, when Korea began to have a better economic recovery following the global recession, U.S. exports in a number of fields are really quite high. Next slide, please. So maybe we can talk about this other aspects in the next part of the presentation, but it's important to know about rules of origin and how the accumulation effects can help provide supply chain linkages between the two countries, and of course, the role of investment, particularly in this area of the country where there's been so much Korean investment into the United States. And our work, of course, is never done. We have the agreement in place. It's very important for the US government that we always continue to monitor what is going on in Korea. We have enforcement mechanisms within the agreement so that if there are ever concerns that one party is violating the terms of the agreement, we can have a dispute settlement mechanism and resolve those issues. And in general, we're always trying to increase our cooperation in the economic fields with Korea. And future expectations we can talk about later, but they're good.
Okay, great. Thank you. Mr. Kim?
Well, it is my pleasure, honor to get invited to this panel on Korea-US Free Trade Agreement. This year marks the third year of KORUS FTA implementation. Actually, I'm glad to see that Bryant agreed that KORUS FTA is a very successful agreement. It is a win-win agreement. As you know, KORUS FTA is a high quality agreement ever. It's a best quality agreement in the world, actually. We are modeled on, KORUS is modeled for TPP as well. Actually, KORUS expedited a Japanese decision to join TPP negotiation because they felt behind Korea, because Korea is advancing trade relations with
United States and European Union with high quality provisions. So since there are many high quality provisions, so the implementation of KORUS FTA has been challenging, very challenging, because as you see Abe's third arrow, it is really a benchmark on Korea's arrow of economic reform through KORUS FTA. Actually, tariff reduction is just immediate benefits for businesses, both ends. But eventually, the Korea aims to be advancing a more competitive, more transparent global system in the world, so that we can match our friends and competitors well. This is all about KORUS FTA. Actually, it was very lucky to get into implementation job past 2.5 years. So it was a great benefit to work with efficient USTR officials, Bryant and Wendy Cutler. Now she's more focused on TPP Japan negotiation. Actually, Bryant and Wendy Cutler is the most efficient officials who oversaw the implementation of KORUS. That really could great benefit negotiating with Japan and just deliver high quality TPP negotiation in the event. I hope with KORUS, TPP will make a great potential in the Asia Pacific for businessmen, trade investment, harmonized standards, and more investment, more supply and value chains. This is a real focus on pivot to Asia. This is a backbone of the United States outreach in the Asia Pacific. In that regard, KORUS FTA is a real important stepping stone. As you know, the global economic situation is not favorable. Implement high quality provisions of KORUS FTA. But nevertheless, KORUS FTA successfully increased two-way trade of FTA beneficiary items. FTA beneficiary item means products that benefit from tariff reduction or elimination, or more transparent rules on both ends. Comparing the performance of beneficiary products trade past 2 years compared with 2 years before KORUS implementation is a 15.7% increase in exports from Korea to United States and a 10.1% increase in exports from United States to Korea. This is remarkable because the global economic depression made trade statistics free fall. But due to Chorus FTA, that effects mitigated. It is the opposite way, the increase in beneficiary exports to both ends. In particular, United States is showing increasing benefits in services and agricultural exports. The U.S. services surplus continues to expand at a rate of 20% on average in recent years. There are many happy farmers in California, Florida, Georgia, I hope, and others. The flow of foreign direct investment is sharply on the rise to the net surplus of United States. A total of Korea's investment to United States as of end of last year is about 70 billion US dollars, while a total of US investment to Korea 53 billion US dollars. It's a 17 billion US dollars net surplus to United States. That means more Korean investment is coming to United States. That trend's being intensified after Chorus implementation. This increasing trend of foreign direct investment is deepening and expanding supply and value chains between Korea and the United States. The Korean automotive investment in West Point, Georgia, Montgomery, Alabama are the examples of increasing close relationship. Actually, this is not only trade relations. This extends into investment, job creation, economic growth together. Chorus is a strong platform for these partnership and business transactions. As Bryant explained detail, Chorus FTA is an excellent platform for promoting two-way trade investment by tariff elimination or staged reduction, by way of transparent, fair, non-discriminative rules of businesses, and by close G2G, government to government, government to business consultations for shooting business concerns effectively in both countries. Past 2 years, 2.5 years, the business concerns are sometimes challenging, but I'm sure we manage them very well. There's new issues arising in new years, but we are managing these issues very effectively. Now there are 20 FTA committees that oversees implementation of Chorus FTA. So far is a successful, as I mentioned, so successful management. I think the Bryant spent more time in Korea than at common issues, the non-tariff market access issues. I think he is more focused these days to TPP and TTIP. But I hope he come back always back to Korea. Chorus FTA is also able to play a vital role in promoting economic and business cooperation in the area of creative economy and innovation, which is a new government focus. Actually, United States is the first country we need to explore this potential. It's a potential for economic growth together through innovation and creative economy. For example, aerospace, robotics, advanced material, advanced manufacturing, including 3D printing, life science, environmental services, are promising areas of cooperation between Korea and Georgia, Alabama. Lastly, Korea is pursuing to introduce individual professional visa quota, like Australia, Chile, and NAFTA countries. This will facilitate STEM professionals. So this is a movement of professionals on two-way directions. Then that increase the closer relationship, people to people, and also business partnership on both ends. So Senator Johnny I. Jackson submitted Korea's professional visa bill on July 24 this year. This is a Senate companion bill of House Bill 1812. This bill, if realized, will make another firm basis for bilateral movement of STEM professionals and investment. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Hollie?
Thank you, June. As June mentioned in my introduction, my area of professional responsibility is primarily in investment. Our goal with the Alabama Department of Commerce, as would be similar in other states, is job creation. But we know that export creates jobs. The more that we can export, the more jobs that we can create, and this is very important. We do also have the state trade component is housed within the Department of Commerce. Many of you do know Hilda Lockhart. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to be here today, but she is our resource for all trade things related. The Korea-U.S. trade agreement benefits both sides. We know it benefits the U.S. and it benefits Korea, and it certainly has been beneficial to the state of Alabama. Alabama's 8th largest export market is Korea. We do have the Hyundai facility, as was just mentioned, as well as over 70 other Korean companies, and we are exporting materials from those companies as well as from others. Total in 2013, we exported about $55 million of goods from Alabama to Korea, primarily through the Port of Mobile, which is our container port in the Gulf of Mexico. We had a 19% increase as a result of the Korea-U.S. trade agreement, and it's continuing to grow. Our projections show that over the next 5 years, the benefits will continue to be realized for us. We hope that we can continue to further promote integration between our economy and the Korean economy. We spend a lot of time in Korea. We do not have an office there, unfortunately, right now, hopefully again in the future, but we do spend a lot of time working there. We work with consultants, and I've traveled to Korea with June, and Andy's also helped us. So there is an ongoing relationship, and we hope to continue that. Thank you.
Oh, great, thank you. Ready?
Yes.
For the state of Georgia.
Thank you, June, very much. I appreciate it. And thank you to UPS for hosting this here in Georgia. We're very, very happy that the Korea Southeast U.S. Chamber of Commerce is really growing, becoming very, very active, and we're very, very supportive of the organization as well. So thank you to Andy, too. I am the Director of International Investment, all foreign direct investment for the state of Georgia. I do not work on the trade side very much like Hollie. Our Deputy Commissioner for the state of Georgia's trade division is a very well-known person, Kathy Falls. Her division has twice now won the Presidential E-Star for excellence in exporting, which is really an unprecedented award for a governmental agency to receive. And she has a fantastic team that really travels all over the world and helps our Georgia manufacturers find export markets abroad. We have offices in 11 countries around the world. Our office in Seoul, Korea is headed up by Peter Underwood, and the managing director of that office is Hee-Jung Shin. She joined the department in 2006. And they have been instrumental in helping us on the ground there in Korea, in Seoul. So I have been given some talking points here, again, because trade is really not my expertise, but I do have experience in international trade. I did do Pacific Rim trade for a number of years when I was living and working in Japan. I do have some numbers here that I think are very impressive that were given to me by Kathy's team. Since the Korea-U.S. The KORUS was signed into force, the total trade from Georgia with Korea have increased every year, averaging almost 23%, which is well above the national average, which I'm told is a little over 5%. Just to give you some numbers, in 2009, that trade accounted for $1.8 billion worth of trade. 2010, it jumped to $3.85 billion. 2011, which was the year it was signed into force, we had $5.5 billion worth of trade. 2012, it jumped to $7.1 billion. And the latest we have statistics from are 2013, where it was almost the same. It was right around $7 billion with Korea. So we have seen definitely a significant increase in our trade based on the advantages of the free trade agreement. In talking, we also, Georgia in general, there are, I understand, 20 FTA agreements with other countries around the world with the United States, and that we trade with 19 of those 20 countries. Prior to those FTAs coming into force, we had done business with only 13 of those countries. So again, Georgia's seeing a lot of advantages and benefits from the free trade agreements. And we've seen an increase in total trade from 17 of those countries once the FTA was signed into force. And then speaking about investment as well, we have, particularly down around the West Point, Georgia, the Columbus, Georgia area, Kia Motors has a significant investment, well over $1 billion down there. They employ well over 3,000 people directly at that facility, and we have a large number of Korean suppliers who have come to our state, as well as coming to Alabama. We share a bunch of suppliers with the Hyundai plant that's across the border there in Alabama. And those suppliers in Georgia have over 10,000 people working directly for them. So Korean investment has come on very, very strong over the last number of years. And that's my team is charged with handling a lot of those investments coming into the state. And we look forward to working with even more Korean companies over the coming years.
Great. Well, thank you. It's surprising to hear so much talk about the investment side, but when you Google or research the FTA issues, a lot of the critics are only focusing on the trade side, trade deficits and what have you, and they keep pointing at the numbers of the U.S. side, lower numbers and jobs lost, but they seem to forget that there are additional investments that are happening into the U.S. And in my work, I have noticed that the imports of, say, automotive parts, they go into the cars that are being manufactured here, and but are they really true imports? But they show up on the import side on the ledger, but it seems like that's rather misclassified, and people are forgetting that they are also creating jobs here, right? So I'm very pleased to hear about the, you guys discussing the investment side. Do we have any questions about this topic from the audience? Okay. While they're thinking about the questions to ask, do you have anything else to add? We might have 2 or 3 minutes on this topic. All right, then keep thinking. I'll move on to the second topic, which is where to start and how to find available services. Should we start from the local side first? Hollie, you want to start? Sure. If I was a businessman or a manufacturer or a farmer in the state of Alabama, how do I start? How do I benefit from this FTA that you were talking about?
Well, Jean actually inadvertently gave a great lead-in to my discussion, because it really is going to focus a little bit more on the investment side. When it comes to actually wanting to trade, to set up a trading partnership, we are the statewide point of contact. So coming first to the Alabama Department of Commerce, if you're interested in initiating trade from within Alabama, then we are the point of contact. We do have a full staff that works with companies and has many, many years of experience doing so. As a matter of fact, our trade director was in Georgia at one time. And so they can help you go from start to finish. We do usually about 5 missions a year, and they take small to medium-sized companies primarily to target markets to work. We do not typically do industry-focused missions. We do regional missions as opposed to all automotive or what have you. So that's typically it. But if you allow me, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the investment portion in Alabama and how it works. And as June said, there is a nice linkage between the trade agreement and the investment side. So at the Alabama Department of Commerce, we can assist with a number of things. I mentioned that we are the statewide point of contact for all location, investment, as well as trade services. We also have the film office, if we have any of you out there that have some more interesting ideas. And we can assist from start to finish in helping you find a location, incentives, looking at those, tax modeling, workforce analysis, permitting, all of the questions that you may have as you enter the U.S. and the Southeast to invest. I just wanted to show you one of our latest print ads, Where in the World is Alabama Everywhere? We actually had some Korean guests at our office last week, and we were in trouble for having the Mercedes logo at the bottom of the poster, so I'm just going to apologize in advance. We do have, as one of our Korean partners, we have Hyundai Heavy Industries, as well as Hyundai Motors, but we have Hyundai Heavy Industries making electric transformers in Montgomery, Alabama. And when they came to visit us, they jokingly, I hope, actually turned that sign around in our conference room. So. Anyway, but where in the world is Alabama? We are a smaller state. Our population is about 4.8 million. It is the same as the Atlanta metro area.
Yes.
So I mean, it's a similar land mass to Georgia, but the population is much smaller. The major city is Birmingham with a metro area of about 1.1 million. This map, it's difficult to see, though I understand the slides will be available later. It just gives you an idea of the Korean investment that we've seen in Alabama. As Scott mentioned, we do share that supply base between the Kia facility and the Hyundai facility. They are about 75 to 80 miles apart. So you've got a significant supply chain going up that 85 corridor. And the number I have on there is 70. We have more now. We're continuing to update. One of the things that we're working on and that may be of interest to this group, Alabama, as I said, is a smaller state, but well known in Korea for automotive manufacturing. We are really working to diversify that Korean investment. So we welcome the opportunity to speak with you if you're interested in any type of investment or trade, but certainly don't just think about us as an automotive destination. There are other aspects that we're very interested in and very capable of handling.
Great. Thank you. And Scott will cover the state of Georgia this time.
Yes. If we in Georgia were to put up a poster that said "Where in the world is Georgia everywhere," we would have definitely a Kia a Kia car on there. But the reason is they are our only major automotive OEM. That's all we have. Other than maybe we could put a yellow Bluebird bus on there, but that would not be exactly. Alabama has a choice of what cars they can put on their poster. Okay, who you gonna call, basically, I guess is the question. Okay, you can always call me. I'm going to say a sentence that I thought I never wanted to say in my life, which is just go to our website, georgia.org, and you click on international business or international trade links, and you can pick which country you're from, you're looking for, and our contacts in those international offices. If you click on Korea, Hee Jung-shin's contact information comes up there. On the trade side, Kathy Fall's contact information comes up. And I'd like to just quickly introduce a few colleagues of mine who are here today. First of all, E. Jane Caraway sitting here in the front, if you could wave a little bit. E. Jane is our regional project manager down in region, what number is that? Region number 4, I can never remember, but that's the Columbus, Georgia area, West Point. It covers all of that area down there. So if you're a company looking for assistance with expansion, tax issues, permitting issues, anything at all, E-Jane is the person to call. E-Jane's also on our website. Sitting next to her is Jonathan Lupo. Jonathan put together the information that I'm using here today for the panel session, and Jonathan is basically Kathy's really, truly a right-hand man there. Jonathan is a clearinghouse for a lot of things with that department, and he's also a very good person to contact for any trade information. And then finally, I think there's only one more. Ms. Uni Kim is here, I think. Yep. Standing there in back. Uni is a senior project manager on my team and is the main point of contact for all of our Korean investment projects. I do not have a slide presentation like Hollie did, but really if you just switched out Alabama for Georgia, we very much provide almost all the same types of services, the site location services, and they're all free in Alabama too, right?
They are.
Okay. So. And of course our states are really rivals, but in the area of particularly the Korean automotive clusters down there, there is also a lot of cooperation between the two states.
Great. Before we move on to the national level resources, do any of you have resources, rather like assistance for specific business owners and farmers and such? Are there financial assistance programs, program-wise? Are there programs that they can attend to get assistance on forms preparations and such?
Right. We do hold a number of seminars throughout the state. Sometimes they're for targeted markets, but they are free to attend. Occasionally there might be a $5 fee to cover lunch or something of that nature, but we do hold them on a regular basis. If you're interested in that, if you will contact me directly, I will be glad. It is also on our website, madeinalabama.org, and But I'm happy to help get you signed up for those emails. We also have a small business office, and so if you feel that would be a better fit, and I can help you make that determination, we offer both of those services.
And we also have, right now, we are cooperating a lot more than we have historically in Georgia with our Department of Agriculture in working with them to find export markets abroad for our farmers. We also have a small business division as well, and we sponsor trade missions abroad every year, 1 or 2 missions. And so if you'd like to participate in those, you can also contact the department for that.
So we just need to contact you to get on the mailing list.
That's right.
Okay, great. Now, on the national level, Mr. Kim, what kind of resources do you have for us to use?
Well, I think my colleague Brian Han introduced the website tradekorea.com. Actually, KITA is a very professional the trade service organization led by former ambassador to the United States, Han Duck-soo, and also he was a former prime minister. He's quite advancing the level of services in KITA. So I hope you utilize that business contact resources. At the same time, I'd like to recommend you that you refer to Korea Kora's success stories and state-by-state benefits. Is website. We launched a website, US Korea Connect website. It is www.uskoreaconnect.org. You may pick up the state fact sheet materials. There is the website information as well. So this is just an example of how we operate implementation more beneficial to US and Korean businesses. So for example, the facts and figures section of US Korea Connect features a map of United States, where you can access fact sheets about each state's trading relationship with Korea and its benefits. So this is Georgia Korea Connect, Alabama Korea Connect. They're just the showcases. And also our website accumulated 160 success stories over 41 states. Actually, this is a legacy of the FTA outreach to pass the bill in the U.S. Congress. It was very hard to pass both chambers, but at last we did. It's a rare bipartisan effort in recent 10 years, I guess, and recent 7 years, I guess. These business success stories are available on the Business Connect section of uskoreaconnect.org and are organized by industry and state. The first success story in Georgia and as well as in Alabama would be Korean automotive investments, Kia Motors and Hyundai Motors. Actually, Hyundai Motors is located in Montgomery, Alabama. It's elder and bigger than Kia in Georgia. So I think Alabama is smaller, but it's you have the bigger automotive investment in Alabama, I guess. The Kia Motors and Hyundai Motors and the parts and component companies have been building fairly solid industrial cluster that expands bilateral relations into trade, investment, job creation, economic growth. In this regard, import is creating jobs in Alabama and Georgia. This is more than trade. Trade is not exchange of goods with remote destination. As I told you, it is merging into the more comprehensive supply and value chain partnership. So trade is more than trade. The economic partnership benefits job creation and economic growth together. This supply and value chain will also provide for a solid platform to promote advanced manufacturing. As I mentioned before, advanced manufacturing partnership between Korea and Southeast region of United States. I understand robotics and aerospace, agribusinesses, and life science. Okay. Are the key industries I think Georgia and Alabama is fostering. So this is a good basis for that new partnership as well. Greenland in Roswell is a metal alloy manufacturing company, and Morgan Thermal Ceramics, it is a high temperature insulating fiber and brick manufacturing company in Augusta, Georgia, introduced as success stories. While Nidec Medical Products, it is an oxygen concentrator manufacturing company in Birmingham, and a Klum lumber company in Daphne in Alabama. I think it's a Klum lumber company is exporting yellow pine lumber to Korea. So there are also the success stories as well. Thank you.
Before you start, Brian, I would like to add that something that does not show up in reports is felt by people like me daily, which is the number of foreign students, Korean students in the United States. By introducing Chorus FTA, Koreans have heard now a lot, very often, about America, and students who, for whatever reason, are thinking of going overseas opt to come to the US because they become more familiar with all the stories about the US. And I know for a fact that Auburn University in Alabama has seen incredible increase in Korean students, in number of Korean students because of Hyundai's presence there, because they become more familiar with the state of Alabama. Likewise, Georgia has seen a great deal of increase in Korean students. And each student brings some $70,000, $80,000 a year cash to spend in the United States. I don't think that is covered by most of the reports. I just wanted to mention that. All right, ready? what are the resources that we can expect from the U.S. government?
Well, I wanted to introduce a couple of them. Maybe you can open the USTR website link. Okay, so at the USTR website, ustr.gov, we have a section there called Tools to Help Utilize the U.S.-Korea FTA. What you'll find there are a number of links to information. If you're an importer, your main federal level connection is going to actually be U.S. Customs, who has full authority over import regulations and things like that, but there are some links there to the appropriate places for U.S. Customs. On our website are links to a couple of tools you can use to try to determine what the tariff would be for your product. You're exporting product X and you want to know, okay, under the agreement, what's the current tariff in Korea? There's a tariff tool there's a link there. What you can also find, if you scroll up a little bit, you'll see on the left side where it says Chorus FTA, and there are a bunch of links under that. And one of those, important is the final text of the agreement, because if you are getting ready to export, particularly if you're getting ready to export to Korea for the first time or you're exploring it, there are some areas within the actual text of the agreement itself that you probably want to look at, which are mainly for example, the rules of origin chapter and things like that. So a lot of the information is there. If you could open up the export.gov, the commerce website. Now, one thing at the federal level, and Amy has already, from the Commerce Department, has mentioned some of it, USTR, the organization that I'm with, we are the ones that are the negotiators. We're the ones that sit down and negotiate a trade agreement with foreign countries. And the Commerce Department, which gives us a lot of support on the policy side and supports us as we negotiate these agreements. But what Commerce also does is they're the ones that have people on the ground to actually help U.S. businesses. And so the Commerce Department, through export.gov, also has a lot of very good practical information up there for you to go through as you are exporting. Now, one thing I wanted to point out, if you scroll down a little bit, what you need to know before the goods ship. There are a couple of links there that are really important, the links to the rules of origin and documenting origin. If you're getting ready to export to Korea, those links there will really help you. It's a very good step-by-step process of what you need to do to determine whether your good qualifies for the agreement. How do you prove that it qualifies? What kinds of documentation do you need to keep? All of those kind of things. So I really do want to point out those areas, particularly if you're getting into the U.S.-Korea business for the first time. For those of you who are already exporting to other FTA partners of the United States, NAFTA, you'll find that Korea is very similar. So if you have exported to Canada or Mexico and used the NAFTA export provision, certificates of origin, you'll find it's quite similar, but there are some differences. And so you should make yourself aware of those differences before you start. So that's really, what we have at the federal level in terms of providing information. Another very good resource if you're interested in exporting, obviously, your first point of call should be the U.S. Export Assistance Center in your region, and what they can do is help you put you together with another extremely good resource, which is the U.S. commercial sections at our embassies abroad. For example, at our embassy in Korea, and they have a number of services that they offer to U.S. businesses, ranging from market research to arranging connections, trade fair support, things like that. So I definitely want to highlight those opportunities.
Great, well, thank you. Any questions from the audience regarding this topic, the resources? All right, now we're perfectly on time. Let's move on to the last topic, which is looking forward. Which U.S. and Korean products, services, and suppliers and such are most likely to benefit from this FTA? Mr. Kim, would you like to start?
Well, I'll start with Georgia first. Trade between Georgia and Korea consists of a wide range of machinery and agricultural products. For example, major export products from Georgia to Korea include aerospace products and parts, engines and turbines, paper products, which fall within some of Georgia's key industries: aerospace, manufacturing, agribusiness, and automotive sector. The KORUS FTA continues to expand trade of these top export items, and also connects Georgia with Korea to share knowledge and to collaborate on research or business projects required for Georgia's continued development. Export of aerospace products and parts increased by 344%, 40.4% from January through June this year, when compared with the same period previous year, reaching a total of $509 million US dollars. Exports of engine and turbine increased by 94.6% in the first half of this year, reaching a total of $52.6 million US dollars. Exports of paper and paperboard mill products increased by 38%. It's relatively moderate, right? But 38% is a big number as well. 38% in the first half of this year, reaching a total of $44.4 million US dollars. That means Georgia's export key industries is increasing very rapidly based on solid business economic relations with Korea. The major import products from Korea to Georgia includes motor vehicle and parts, and as well as machinery for agriculture, construction, and mining. As I mentioned before, advanced manufacturing is a good area, is innovation and creative economy. So I think, I hope businesses on both ends be attentive to those aspects. Is now R&D seminar, R&D exchange is ongoing, but based on successful R&D, pilot projects will be pursued, and then business comes. So this is a new innovative businesses, very lucrative as well. Alabama, next I'll touch on Alabama. Trade between Alabama and Korea consists of machinery and other manufactured products. Major export items include basic chemicals, such as petrochemical used to manufacture products as diverse as plastic, medicines, and computers, as well as medical equipment and motor vehicles and parts. Exports of basic chemicals increased by 58.6% from January through June this year, compared with same period previous year, reaching a total of $75.5 million US dollars. Exports of medical equipment and supplies increased by 133.5% in the first half of this year, compared with previous year, reaching a total of $47.8 million US dollars. Alabama exported 25.
Radiant color that looks 10 years younger.
I think it's that she's more beautiful and more appealing than my mom. Alabama exported 25.3 million in motor vehicles back to Korea the first half of this year, an increase of 124.4% from the from previous year's same period. So Alabama's import items include motor vehicle parts, iron, steel, and metalworking machinery. So innovation and economic cooperation is the area businesses need to utilize the full potential as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question on Bryant. Maybe you can answer this. Hyundai car, made in the US, made in Alabama with, say, 30% of the parts imported from Korea. Is it considered a Korean car sold here?
Well, it's manufactured in the United States, so it would generally be considered a U.S. car.
US made?
Yeah, U.S. made car. I mean, you know, the automotive industry has become so globalized. You have all of the major automotive manufacturers from all countries that are manufacturing everywhere. So in some ways, you know, the nationality of a car is getting less important and less easy to identify. But, you know, it raises an interesting point in terms of linkages. In order for a US car to be exported to Korea and get the benefits of the FTA, to get the reduced tariff under the FTA, you know, the rule of origin for a car says that it needs to be at least 35% American value. So, but what's interesting is that then in terms of that Hyundai, 30% is coming from Korea. Because it's a free trade area between the two countries, actually it's considered 100% within the area. So, you know, it could be 50% Korean value, but because it's from Korea, it could be exported back to Korea and qualify under the agreement because it's the two. Anything you source from Korea, when you're manufacturing here in the United States, if you source an input from Korea, that input from Korea will count toward the value of your good for qualifying if you export the final product back to Korea.
Very interesting. I
A
just
little
thought
technical.
about that. Yes, very technical. I noticed that the vice president of Ford Motor Company at the Senate hearing for KORUS FTA complained that the number of cars exported to Korea only improved 15,000 cars, whereas the Korean export of cars to the US increased some terrible numbers. What was it? Some 7 billion or whatever. And he was complaining that the Korean government had a lot of restrictions on the American car imports. Is that true, Mr. Kim? Or is it because Koreans just don't care for American cars? Why is it?
Be careful.
Well, I always respect Ford leadership in American automotive industry, and also Ford is not American name; is a global brand, is a front runner in this manufacturing businesses. So Ford is a respected businessman as well. So, but you know, these days many competitors coming from Germany, Japan, and also Korean brand cars. So thanks to KORUS FTA, I think U.S. origin cars ranked number 2 after EU 28. So passing Japan and leaving Japan in the 3rd place. This means Toyota, U.S. origin Toyota, U.S. origin Honda, together with Ford and Chrysler, selling very successfully products. So that means Toyota Hyundai made in USA replacing same brand from Japan. So actually Ford has some limited increase, but I think it's more than 40% increase in sales. But many benefits shared with Toyota and Honda here. So U.S. origin cars. So I think Ford need to make more efforts to fuel economy standards, because Korean consumers are keen in buying fuel economy cars, small cars, efficient cars, rather than big cars. So gasoline price in Korea is much more expensive than in the United States. So that aspect as well. But we are discussing some standards issues. For example, the small exporter consideration benefits. It is a part of KOROS FTA spirit and the provisions. So whenever we introduce safety standards, environmental standards, we discuss this matter with USTL and stakeholders, including Ford. And GM is a strong investor in Korea. Actually, they're producing cars not only for domestic sale in Korea, but also export to overseas. GM brand cars market share is around 10% in Korea. And now foreign brands, imported cars reaching 13% of Korean market. So actually we are making a progress, very rapid progress, to make a level playing field for foreign brand cars. But this is a government job. But I think consumer choice depends on the companies. Thank you.
Okay, so the companies need to study the Korean market better.
Of course.
I've also noticed that when I travel there, the cars can use a gas or LPG, which is not the same here, right? Here it's diesel or gas. So the gas price over there is so high that the American cars are not so suitable. And the number that was quoted during the testimony was $4 billion in increase in automotive trade deficit, total of $19 billion a year, which is supposed to be 94% of the total deficit. So if the US motor companies make cars that are appealing in the Korean market, we could avoid having this type of deficit, it seems. Anyway, for other than the cars, let's move on to other products. What other products do you see benefiting most from the FTA nationally?
Well, I think the main thing that I would want to emphasize is that we negotiated this free trade agreement to benefit all sectors of the U.S. economy. That's why it's important when we point out that this is a comprehensive trade agreement, meaning it covers everything, because the U.S. government doesn't go out to negotiate a trade agreement on behalf of a particular industry. We want it to be comprehensive, to provide a platform for any U.S. company to be more competitive in that market with which we have negotiated an agreement. So, other countries conclude what they call free trade agreements, but you'll find out that there are a lot of exclusions, right? I mean, really what they've done is they have selected a few industries or a few sectors where they want to liberalize trade, and then they keep protecting others. That's exactly why the U.S. government insists, we don't have a free trade agreement unless it eliminates the tariffs on everything, because we want to create that level playing field. We don't want to pick winners among the different U.S. industries. We want to create a platform so that any U.S. company becomes more competitive in that market. That's essentially the principle with which we start. So I think in general my answer to your question would be we've created the platform. So
were there any items excluded from the FTA?
The only item excluded from the FTA was rice. However, so there was no tariff liberalization. That's good. There was no tariff liberalization on the Korean side for rice for various reasons. I'd let Minister Kim discuss that. However, separate from the FTA, we had a previous agreement with Korea, a multilateral agreement at the WTO level that has actually increased our market access for rice year by year. And so, even though it wasn't covered under the FTA, we have seen increased market access and increased sales of U.S. rice in Korea over the past few years.
Okay, great. My father was a rice merchant, so I was specifically interested in that topic, but I found that there were complaints that rice was not a part of this deal. But understandably, in Korea, there are many rice farmers, and they definitely could not compete with this large-scale American rice farmers. So, the landscape, it's just not suitable for mass production. Anyway, let's go on to Georgia. Do you have any certain areas that you expect to benefit?
We do, definitely. The key markets that we're finding that we believe that Chorus FTA will open up, number one would be chemical manufacturing. The pre-FTA tariffs could range from 6 to 50%, and those will disappear. Machinery manufacturers as well. Georgia exporters used to face a tariff as high as 13% to export their machinery to Korea. That will go away. Transportation equipment, duties on most of the transportation equipment products have been eliminated, including 68% of automotive exports, over 92% of aircraft and related parts, and over 99% of all shipping and other transportation equipment. And then finally, agriculture. In 2009, our statistics say that our agricultural exports supported more than 14,400 jobs, both on and off the farms, and that with the elimination of tariffs and other barriers on most of the agricultural products, the market will allow improved access to all farmers from Georgia. And I thought I would just do a quick little quiz here. For Georgia, what do you think is the number, in terms of dollar value, the number one exported product as a category from Georgia? What do you think that would be? In terms of actual dollar value, it's aerospace products. They're the number one category of exported products from the U.S. Jonathan, do you have a number on that in terms of dollar value? Off the top of your head, putting you on the spot in front of all these people? I don't. Okay. But that is true, right?
Yeah, I can say that just from one sale to the other, that can be a huge impact in our trade numbers.
And then the other question that I thought I'd throw out there is for agricultural exports, we talk about there are the top agricultural exports out of Georgia are the 5 Ps. They're agricultural products. They all begin with the letter P. Can you guess what they might be? Peanuts. Pecans. Poultry. Peaches. And then there's one more. A lot of people don't get this one, but pine. Yeah, pine trees and yellow pine and all that. Yeah, for pulp and paper exporting out. So we talk about the 5 Ps of Georgia agricultural exports.
Very nice. Easy to remember. Hollie, how about Alabama?
Okay. Ours, I think Mr. Kim captured it very, very well, and I could largely echo what Scott said minus the aerospace at this point. Alabama's number one export to Korea is chemicals. So we have chemicals, transportation, materials, scrap metals, machinery, and same thing also agriculture. And we also have peaches, peanuts, poultry, all of the pine. And pecans as well. So it's a very, very similar market as our new Airbus facility comes online in Mobile. Hopefully in the future we'll see an increase in aerospace export, but right now that will be excluded from our list to Korea.
Right. I travel back and forth between Korea and the U.S. at least twice a year, and each time I bring gifts for my clients and my families, and I always wonder what is the best item to take, and I compare the prices, and this time what I found was pine nuts. right? Pine nuts here are sold in Korea at least 5 times more expensively there.
Really?
And also GNC, Koreans are extremely interested in their health. And their health products are always very, very popular. And I never go wrong taking a bottle of vitamins up. Anyway, so I was wondering if one of you could do like a spreadsheet. Okay, what's the price of pine nuts in the US versus in Korea? And then if I were an exporter, I could say, okay, I can take this to Korea. Just an idea. So, any of you have further questions from these distinguished panelists?
I have a question.
Yes.
I was very taken by Mr. Kim's discussion about the innovation initiative, the new initiative that apparently has grown out of the FDA, and the importance of the professional visa related to innovations. And I was wondering if he could expand on that, and if Mr. Trick would also talk about the relationship between this new initiative on innovation and the importance of the professional visa.
Okay. The annual professional visa quota is around 85,000 annually. It is taken a few days by strong competitors, India, China, and others. So the Korean students studying in the United States, undergraduate and graduate, amounts to more than 70,000 students here. Actually, it is number 3 after China, India. But when you calculate per capita, Korea is number 1. So that means there are many Korean students. But after graduation, undergraduate or graduate is PhDs, then they are not entitled to work here unless the companies hire them. But as you know, the Korean students now are keen in a STEM area. Science is a very technical area. Science, STEM, engineering, mathematics, STEM.
Technology.
So science, technology, right? So sometimes, you know, it happens. So anyhow, the many Korean students are focused in that area. I hope they could get hired and in many technical companies, and then they could turn into green cards, or they go back to Korea. So when they are hired in certain technical companies in United States, wherever they are, I think a strong bridge of that partnerships with Korea, or the Korean investment into United States. So this is a good bridge. Is a utilization of human resources in a technical fields. It is the main focus of this initiative.
Just a quick mention on the FTA. The other FTAs that I remember with Australia and Singapore included a provision for specific visas. Mm-hmm. For instance, Singaporeans were exempt from the H-1B cap, and Australians had their own E3 visas. Any of the visa issues discussed for the Chorus FTA?
Yeah, can I continue? Actually, we are benchmarked on Australian, Chile, Singaporean, NAFTA examples. So individual separate quota or more freer visa issues to NAFTA countries. So from the Australian example, I think Congress, just the Judiciary Committee, the jurisdiction is asserted So they didn't like the idea of visa as part of FTA deal. So after that, Australia pursued separate professional visa quota. So Korea is the same.
I
Doing the
see.
same. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just one more question.
I got a question. My name is Fred Choi, and I'm a recent retiree from the Army. And I was fortunate enough to be in Korea when the free trade agreement was established, along with all the mad cow disease discussions and riots. And I'm a huge fan of the FTA of Korea and U.S. and any other FTAs that are out there. At the same time, there's a movement right now for made in the USA products and buy America and bring all the companies back to the US. Do you see any conflict between what we're doing, what you're talking about right now with that movement, or do you think there's enough diversity out there to not have to worry about that?
Well, we don't think that there's really a conflict. In fact, one of the reasons that the administration is pursuing the trade policy that it is, which is, we have the free trade agreement with Korea. Right now, we're pursuing two further extremely ambitious free trade agreements, one called the Trans-Pacific Partnership with a wide range of Asia-Pacific countries, another with the European Union called TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. We've already talked about how, to some extent, through the FTA here, this has facilitated Korean investment in the US and manufacturing in the United States, which can then also be traded back to Korea. What the administration is doing is trying to put the United States at the center of a hub of trade connections through these major free trade agreements, which means is that, if you are a Brazilian company and you're interested in exporting to the Asia Pacific or to Europe, it may be a benefit of you to actually locate your production facilities in the United States so that you can take advantage of the US free trade agreements with those countries. You're going to get lower duties exporting from the United States than you would if you exported the goods you manufacture at home. So having these major trade agreements, which we hope will eventually, once these are concluded, I forget the exact figure, but I think it'll account for 2/3 of our trade. We see that as a powerful tool for really making the United States a manufacturing and services platform where companies, both US companies, can remain here and have lesser need to move abroad, and it also attract foreign companies to use this as a manufacturing platform and be competitive.
I am allowed one more question.
Thank you. Sam Yoon from Council of Korean Americans. I think it is following this line of discussion. I think that the numbers around the jobs that are created in Georgia and Alabama from South Korean manufacturing, that's really impressive. And I wonder, first of all, to what extent that is understood or calculated in the way that FTAs are evaluated, as opposed to just the volume or size of I'm wondering to what extent, national level, state level, taking advantage of that manufacturing, energy is, what further partnerships in terms of building skills for Americans to continue to invest in that arena?
I think that's the point we are focused on. That's why we see I hear the skills gap here and there. Particularly, the economy moves to innovative and creative area. I think you need professional people, well-trained, advanced people. If they are successful, they multiply jobs rising from them. So we need to respect and foster this kind of very innovative people and skilled people. So I think Korean students here can contribute, fill that gaps if companies is more attentive to Korean personnel.
Yeah, in our state, we have obviously been very sensitive to the issue of that skills gap in our workforce. And for that reason, our governor, Nathan Deal, instituted something called the High Demand Career Initiative program in our state, where we've held a series of meetings throughout all the 12 different regions of Georgia, inviting top manufacturing companies to come and discuss with our Quick Start training program people and our technical college system people, Georgia Tech, University of Georgia, some of the other colleges, and basically have a series of hearings to find out directly from the companies what issues are they seeing in those skills gap, and to see how our university system, technical college system and training program, as well as the secondary educational system can do to help better prepare the pipeline of workers coming from these educational institutions to assist the companies. And of course, our Quick Start training program has been ranked #1 training program in the country for many years now. And we see that as a true investment in our people. The better skills our workforce have, the more successful the company is, which means they will expand and hire more people, and it's that win-win kind of philosophy that we try to implement here in the state.
In Alabama, we've tried to address that issue as well at both the state and the local level. At the state level, by working with the two-year colleges in a similar model, going through and having each two-year system has a dedicated economic developer, and they're tasked with working directly with the manufacturers to determine what it is those manufacturers need rather than the other direction. So that's very important. At the local level, we have career academies. We have someone here from the Montgomery Chamber. They were an innovator in that, and we have it in some of our other communities as well, going through having those specified areas that best fit with our industries and the jobs that are available. We also have our technical training at the state level. In Alabama, it's AIDT, Alabama Industrial Development Training. It has also been ranked #1 a number of times, and is a no-cost training system that's provided to companies that locate in Alabama.
Thank you, gentlemen and Hollie, for sharing your time and expertise with us. A round of applause, please.
Thank you very much. Before we close our event today, I'd like to recognize a couple of special guests. All the way from Savannah, Georgia, John, Port Authority person, and he will have a lot of things to do to work with every one of you, because Port Savannah is expanding. And also came a long way from here is the former city of Boston councilman and currently president of the Council of Korean American, Sam Yoon. Thank you very much, down here. And then also, I'd like to recognize Kent Spencer from Invest Atlanta. And his job is to host much more businesses to Atlanta and also maintaining, and have a lot of good programs. And also, I'd like to especially, probably they came the most in the farthest way, is all the way from the Korea. They're attending the Vincent Institute of Government at the University of Georgia, which Dr. Gheewhan is the coordinator there. And the city officials and the government officials from Korea, Suwon and Busan and Seoul, and they are here to listen to us. And would you stand, the officials from the Korean governments, please stand up. Okay, thank you very much. Also, Kim Ryman of Georgia State University, and thank you very much. Okay, and also I'd like to introduce her official title is Deputy Consul General, but right now she's acting Consul General of Atlanta. You. And also Justice Smith from Montgomery Chamber of Commerce made it to all the way from down there to here. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And also you have to realize that this chamber, we have professionals from banks industries, Fifth Third and BBVA Compass and SunTrust. And we have CPAs, and we have logistics, the KW, the logistics, and lawyers. If you need anything that you need to do with, contracts, I see Mr. Yoon over there from the J&A, and he changed his company name from JH to JA, right? JY, okay. And we have a KS accounting firm there. And if you come to here, you saw it, Akita has the tradekorea.com. And also U.S. Department of Commerce have export assistance service. Using those things and then using these professional services, you're in good hands. You don't have to go anywhere else. You can just get everything solved, all the solutions here in this chamber. So go to our, the website, and you'll find them all. And then lastly, I'd like to say thank you to our board of directors. Please stand. I'd like to recognize all of our chamber board: Lee-Jane, Greg, Sujin. Okay, thank you very much. And this event, Lee-Jane and also Cheney. And the Sean and Angela, especially, she worked day and night. Even she had a twin baby, had boys, as she became the grandmother. But she worked night and day for help us out. I'd like to say thank you. And Cheney, you did a great job. And Chin Kim, always behind us, take care of the bills, and he's paying on time. And great job. Thank you very much. And lastly, hey, how can we say thank you to Gianna Han, who did a great job? Here, and then all the slides. And she did it purposely to hit that, lady. She did it purposely to get to wake you up, okay? I told her to do that, and that's what. And also, I'd like to say thank you to Mr. Jim Choi at JJ Catering, and also he's one of the expert of Korea U.S. trade businesses too. Thank you very much. And lastly, did they do a good job? No, guys. I don't think so. I don't think they did a good job. I think they did great job. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much. And see you all. Good.
And our next annual dinner is November 6th.
Oh, she said the annual dinner is on November 6th. So we want to take a photo together. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Rick, come and get your watch.
Change to chamber? Oh, okay, so give me one moment. Okay, give me one moment. Give me one moment, I'm sorry. I can do, might be better? One moment, please, one moment.